June 8, 793. The monks of Lindisfarne wake to a sight no Englishman has ever seen, dragon-headed ships sliding out of the morning mist. By sunset, Europe's holiest island is burning. For the next 273 years, no coast in Europe is safe. These raiders will sack Paris, rule England, found Russia, and reach America 500 years before Columbus. So who were these people? Why did they explode out of the frozen north? And how did part-time farmers terrify an entire continent? Grab your axe. This is the entire Viking Age. Rewind, Scandinavia, 8th century. Norway, Sweden, Denmark, a world of deep fjords, dark pine forests, and thin rocky soil that feeds you maybe 8 months a year, if the gods are in a good mood. The Norse are farmers, fishermen, and obsessive traders. Also, surprisingly, clean freaks, combs, tweezers, weekly baths. English monks will later complain that Vikings steal all the women by washing. But Scandinavia has a math problem: too many sons, not enough farmland. Only the eldest inherits. Everyone else gets a sword, a share in a boat, and a strong suggestion: go get rich somewhere else. Now add a religion where dying in battle books you a permanent seat in Valhalla's eternal mead hall. Paradise literally requires violence. The incentives, as economists say, were perfectly aligned. Meanwhile, down south, Charlemagne is converting pagans by the sword and burning their sacred groves. To the Norse, Christian Europe isn't just rich and poorly defended, it's asking for it. Then comes the invention that changes world history: not a sword, a boat. The longship, fast, light, flexible, and shallow enough to float in 3 feet of water. It crosses open ocean, then rows straight up rivers into the heart of a kingdom. Imagine a navy that can appear anywhere: beaches, riverbanks, your monastery's front lawn. No warning, no defense. Navigation, no compass, no charts. They read waves, birds, and whale roads, possibly using crystal sunstones to find the sun through fog. Medieval GPS, powered by vibes and genius. And here's the thing: every free Norse man owns weapons and knows how to row. When raiding season opens each spring, a village doesn't send an army. The village is the army. Back to Lindisfarne. Why hit a monastery? Because medieval monasteries are banks. Gold crosses, silver chalices, jeweled book covers, all guarded by unarmed men who have taken a vow not to fight. The raid is a massacre. Monks are cut down at the altar or dragged off in chains. When news reaches Charlemagne's court, the scholar Alcuin writes, "Never before has such terror appeared in Britain." And here the Vikings discover something profound. Terror is advertising. If your reputation is frightening enough, the next town simply pays you to go away. Extortion scales so much better than robbery. Ireland, Scotland, Francia, coastal Europe burns through the 800s. Vikings found Dublin as a trading post, mainly trading things they just stole. The business model: acquire, resell, repeat. Monks across Europe develop a brand new prayer. From the fury of the Northmen, "O Lord, deliver us." Spoiler: the Northmen keep coming, and soon they stop leaving. 865, everything escalates. The raiding parties merge into one force the English call the Great Heathen Army. Thousands of warriors land in England, not for loot this time, for conquest. Legend says they're led by the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, avenging their father, thrown into a pit of snakes by a Northumbrian king. The sagas may exaggerate. The revenge, however, is extremely real. One by one, the English kingdoms fall. York becomes Viking Jorvik. East Anglia's King Edmund refuses to renounce his faith and is used for archery practice. The message lands loudly. Their commander, Ivar the Boneless, brilliant, ruthless, possibly carried into battle on a shield, outthinks every king he meets. Within a decade, 3 of England's 4 kingdoms simply no longer exist. By 878, England is one bad winter away from becoming Daneland. Only one kingdom still stands, Wessex, and its king is currently hiding in a swamp. Meet Alfred, bookish, sickly, youngest of 5 brothers, and now the last free English king, living in the Somerset marshes with a handful of loyal men, planning the comeback of the century. Legend says a peasant woman shelters him, not recognizing her king, and asks him to watch her cakes. Alfred, lost in strategy, lets them burn and gets absolutely destroyed by an angry housewife. Kings, they're just like us. Spring 878. Alfred rides out of the marsh, rallies the men of Wessex, and meets the Viking army at Edington. Shield wall against shield wall. And this time, the English wall holds. The peace deal splits England down the middle. The north and east become the Danelaw, law, Viking towns, Viking place names. Alfred takes the south, builds a fortress network and a navy, and starts calling himself King of the Anglo-Saxons. And the Viking settlers put down roots, farming, marrying locals, and infecting English with words like knife, window, husband, and egg. Also berserk, for obvious reasons. Meanwhile, Swedish Vikings look the other way, east. They drag their ships overland between rivers, yes, carrying entire boats through forests, down the Dnieper and the Volga, toward the richest cities on earth. The locals call these rowers the Rus. They set up shop at Novgorod and Kiev, taxing the river trade in furs, amber, and silver, and their name quietly sticks to the whole land, Russia. And at the end of the river road waits the prize, Constantinople, 500,000 people, golden domes, streets that smell of spice and money. The Norse simply call it Miklagard, the big city. Naturally, they attack it. It goes badly, the Byzantines have flamethrowers, so the Norse do something much smarter, they sign up. The Varangian Guard is born, axe-swinging Norsemen on an imperial salary. For a young Norseman, it's the ultimate gap year. Guard the emperor, crush a rebellion or two, come home dripping in Byzantine gold. Remember this career path, and remember the name Harald Hardrada. He'll be back for the finale. Back west, the Franks are having the worst century imaginable. Vikings row up the Seine and besiege Paris twice. In 845, the king pays 7,000 pounds of silver just to make them leave. This invents the Danegeld, pay the Vikings to go away. It works perfectly. Except for one tiny flaw, it teaches every Viking in the world that Francia is an ATM. By 911, the exhausted French king tries a new strategy. Give the scariest Viking of all, Rollo, a strip of coastline, on the condition that he keeps the other Vikings out. Set a wolf to guard against wolves. At the ceremony, Rollo is ordered to kiss the king's foot. He has one of his men lift the royal leg so high the king flips over backwards in front of everyone. His new land is named for the Northmen, Normandy. File that away for 1066. Not every Norseman wants to fight. Some just want free land and 0 kings. From 874 they settle Iceland, an empty volcanic island with hot springs, glaciers, and best of all, no neighbors. In 930, they found the Althing, an open-air national assembly where free men make laws and settle feuds with words instead of axes. Mostly, it still exists today. Iceland's parliament is older than most countries. Then Eric the Red gets exiled from Iceland for murder, which, for Viking Iceland, takes real effort. He sails west, finds a frozen wasteland, and names it Greenland. Because, in his own words, people would go there if it had an attractive name. History's first real estate scam. Astonishingly, it works. 2 colonies take root among the glaciers, herding sheep at the very edge of the known world. And Eric's son is about to take the family hobby, sailing the wrong way on purpose, to its logical conclusion. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson follows sailors' rumors even further west. He finds forests, rivers boiling with salmon and wild grapes. He names it Vinland. We call it Newfoundland, Canada. Let that sink in. Vikings reached North America nearly 500 years before Columbus. And it's not a legend. Archaeologists found their actual settlement at Elance, Ox Meadows, in the 1960s. But the locals, the Norse call them Skraelings, are numerous, organized, and completely unimpressed by iron axes. After a few bloody skirmishes, the Vikings make a very un-Viking decision: retreat. Vinland is abandoned. America keeps its 500-year secret, and the sagas quietly file the New World under. Nice place, terrible neighbors. History's greatest what-if sails home with the tide. Back home, something is killing the Viking Age faster than any shield wall ever could. Christianity. Norse kings do the math: one God, one church, one king. It's excellent branding. Denmark's King Harald Bluetooth converts around 960 and unites Denmark and Norway. 1,000 years later, engineers name a wireless standard after him. It also unites things, and the Bluetooth logo is literally his initials in runes. True story. Europe is also getting better at defense. Stone castles, standing armies, fortified bridges. Raiding stops paying. It turns out you cannot extort a continent that has finally learned to build walls. So the wolves become sheepdogs. The Norse kingdoms tax, mint coins, build cathedrals, and ship their restless young men off to the Crusades instead. Respectable, domesticated, almost European. But the Viking Age doesn't fade out quietly. It goes out with fireworks in one absolutely insane year, 1066. England's king dies childless in January. 3 men want the crown. Contestant 1, Harald Hardrada, a Varangian veteran, now king of Norway, 50 years old, 6'5", and the last great Viking on earth. He lands in northern England with 300 ships. At Stamford Bridge, the English army force marches 180 miles in 4 days and catches the Vikings without their armor. One lone berserker holds the bridge alone, cutting down 40 men, until a soldier floats under it in a barrel and spears him from below. Hardrada himself takes an arrow to the throat and dies sword in hand. He'd been promised 7 feet of English ground, and that's exactly what he gets. The Viking Age effectively dies with him, but wait, plot twist. Because 3 days later, Duke William lands in the south. William of Normandy, great-great-great-grandson of Rollo the Viking. He wins at Hastings, takes England's crown, and so, technically, the Vikings won after all. So what did the Vikings actually leave behind? Dublin, York, Normandy, Russia, Iceland's parliament. English words you use today. DNA across half of Europe, and the only European footprint in America before Columbus. They were never just raiders. They were traders, settlers, poets, explorers, and surprisingly good lawyers, sometimes all 5 before lunch. Oh, and the horned helmets, total myth. Opera costume designers invented those in the 1800s. From a burning monastery in 793 to a single arrow at Stamford Bridge in 1066. 273 years that rewired Europe, linked 4 continents, and gave the North its immortal legends. If this gave you a sudden urge to buy a boat, subscribe. A new empire rises and falls here every week. And as the Vikings themselves said, cattle die, kindred die, but a good story never dies.